Time to give it to ya. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? We hope y'all doing good out there. I mean, after all, today is the 4th of July. And they call it the 4th of July. I mean, I'm hearing all types of interesting stuff today about the 4th of July. And I'm just like, hey, what's going on? What's happening with the 4th of July? That holiday is just going down, down, down.
Oh, yeah, no one's doing anything?
I mean, everything that I looked at on social media when it came to the 4th of July, it was like, let's see, some of the things that I read was it was being, America's on punishment because of Roe v. Wade. So that's one thing I did hear. I said, okay, so the Roe v. Wade folk is like, we ain't celebrating, okay? The second one is black folks like, we got Juneteenth now, we woke. We done heard Frederick Douglass' speech for like the past 3 to 4 years. Has been playing social media. I mean, this is where you might really want to thank social media because it kind of woke some people up. I know when we were kids, we didn't really understand what the 4th of July was all about. My mother's like, it's just a day off from work that the white folks gave us.
Basically.
Did you guys really go ham on the 4th of July? Was there anything special at your home? No. I will have to admit, I don't know, maybe you guys can drop some stuff in the chat. I'm not quite sure, but in our home, the 4th of July, my mother said it best. It's just a free day off of work the white folk gave us. But I didn't understand the spirit of 1776, if you know what I mean. But anywho, it is the 4th of July. And unfortunately, I did see, actually, I was waiting for the time to tick down and I saw a thing come up, an alert came up on my phone on YouTube that 6 people had been shot in Chicago. So I'm not quite sure where, but it's like a mass shooting. So I don't know, guys, what's happening with these fireworks. No pun intended.
Close your eyes and you listen to how fireworks sound. Ironic that we make synonymous with gunpowder, with the same gunpowder takes fireworks, guns, and they sound. If you close your eyes and you don't see the color or the sparks, when you see what the designs and colors, close your eyes, it sounds like a war.
You know what? I'm going to be honest, I never thought of it that way, but I know at my house, I don't live in the fancy suburbs, I live in the hood. It's supposed to be a suburb, but suburbs, they just ain't what they used to be. I'm just speaking on my suburb. I'm not trying to talk about all the other suburbs, so don't come after me. I'm just saying, where I live, it's like, you're right, because one day I was like, I mean, they started like shooting fireworks about like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, is that a gun? I mean, my brother was like, 4th of July. I was like, oh yeah. So you guys let me know. And so in my neighborhood, they're probably going to be shooting off fireworks days after the 4th of July. So I actually hate the 4th of July because you're right, it does sound like guns. And it's ironic that they would use that to kind of celebrate. But anywho, so there we are. That's what's happening. I pray that all is well. I don't know where this took place in Chicago. So I'm not quite sure, where the fireworks was at, if it was in the hood, if it was in a suburb. I didn't get a chance to see it, but regardless of where they were, mass shootings of any sort, it's just, any killing. I don't know. I don't quite understand it. I get guns, but I just don't understand, waking up one day and just decide you want to just kill a lot of people. That's just never going to make sense to me. But it is America's history.
And let me just say this. The Second Amendment was only supposed to be during wartime. It was not basically supposed to be like fluid through every citizen on the planet and forever. But the Second Amendment is just one of those things that's just misunderstood. And as we're finding, no matter what happens in the Supreme Court, no matter what happens in any form of government, we don't understand it. We don't know how it even got started. We don't understand it. You're on mute.
I'm getting used to I have to mute, go back and forth. I'm getting there, guys. Just work with me. I'm getting there, okay? But we got to send some super duper shout outs because we got some people in the chat that clearly been waiting for some of us to get this party started. So we got our Canadian babe in the house. What's up, Judy? We got Sophia the first. What's up, Sophia? What would you say? Yeah, you hate fireworks too. The idea of shooting gunpowder in the air for entertainment. It just blows her mind, no pun intended. And it freaks her out when she hears them. Yeah, I'm just like, I'm with you on that one. I'm like, I get the whole colorful, in the sky, but I could, it's, whatever. Anywho. And we got Atlanta is representing Baby Baby. So we appreciate you guys for joining this wonderful podcast. And in case you guys are joining us, this is your first time. I'm LaDosha Wright, and this to my left, your right is
Mr. Omar.
All right. And so today we are in the third part. We had a 3-part series about junk research, okay? And the first one we kind of covered. We talked a lot about fake news is how we got it started. And then second, we kind of wound up with the old junk research. Today we're just going to combine the two because if you read our little ticker at the bottom of our little picture, we talk about these two adds up to one word and one word only, and that's sensationalism. So Cheryl, I want you to get us started and just kind of, share with us how in the ham sandwich and French toast, because I've been trying not to cuss too much today, right? I'm not trying to use a lot of profanity, but how in the French toast and ham sandwich it does fake news and junk research, how do those two equal or add up to sensationalism when it comes to hair care for people with Afro textured hair? And some people in the chat like, yeah, we want to hear this one. So I'm going to mute my mic and just kind of jump us off with how does these two connect and you end up with a whole bunch of sensationalism.
You guys ever had a friend that you guys say, okay, when you guys hang out, we're all hanging out, we're having a conversation, everybody's having a great time, and then all of a sudden you know that this person is a very smart person, but sometimes they like to be the center of attention. And they do this by saying things for an effect. You know how you always had a friend that would just say something for an effect, to get a rise out of people, or to be able to just wanting to be so off the mark, so different and so eccentric. They're trying to be real cool. And then they just say something and then they watch people's reaction, right? That is the same thing as sensationalism. And sensationalism doesn't have to be true. It doesn't have to be anything, actually. It's just there to impart a reaction, and hopefully your reaction is something that will generate another question or conversation. And that is one of the ways that businesses and industries will engage with large groups and to kind of sort of become the go-to person. Oh, ask them a question. Oh my God, that was profound. Or they will say, oh my God, that was deep. And then, of course, doesn't necessarily have to be true or precise, doesn't have to be accurate, doesn't have to be anything from data or anything concrete, or for that matter, considerate or even nice. It's just there to create a sensation. And it's usually done for large groups. So then you can turn around and ask them a question, and then that suddenly makes them an expert. It's a trick, and it's used in advertising and publicity.
Okay, so we got a little sensationalism going on here. So I'm gonna be honest. I don't. Well, I shouldn't say I don't think anywhere, but let's just say when it comes to Afro hair care, based off of what you just said. All right. Now you guys heard this. Now remember, I'm gonna blame all the smart stuff on Cheryl. The bad stuff is gonna be on me. Okay, so what I'm about to say, this did not come from Cheryl. This come from me. All right, and she gonna clean up my shit. Oops, I wasn't supposed to cuss. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so this is a type of sensationalism that we hear when it comes to black hair that personally, now, and I'm saying that for me, I'm not trying to represent all the African American hairstylists, but sensationalism to me, it makes my job behind the chair absolutely gruesome. And so I'm just going to kind of, we talked about this before, but we do have some people who are new here, and this is their first time. So again, welcome you guys to our podcast. Again, it's called Some of the Dumbest Hit That People Say About Black Hair. If you're liking this content, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, that heart button, or clap your hands, or whatever you like to do. If you don't like it, you get the thumbs down too. We ain't going to cry, you know what I'm saying? It's going to be all right. And don't forget to share the content. Also, we also have some giveaways today, and that goes by way of our t-shirts. So again, this is all about sensationalism, how fake news and junk research, to me, this is my statement, it really hurts black hair care businesses and salons. And I'm starting off with myself. The junk research, the sensationalism, all of this really hurts, because a lot of things that we see are coming, we hear, our customers hear. Now I know we're on YouTube, I know we're on LinkedIn, I know we're on Facebook, but you know what? A lot of this stuff comes from social media. So talk about how in the hell did social media get out on the beauty industry with sensationalism, and I'm behind the 8 ball. Talk about how did that part of sensationalism creep into social media and make my job behind that chair miserable AF. I ain't gonna say that word.
Well, does it make your job hard in terms of conversation and during your consultation? Does it?
Yeah, it makes my job hard by way of consultation and actually the service. Because what happens behind the chair is that when you're doing the work, you know, people are busy trying to tell you how to do your job based off of something that they saw on social media. And I'm like, what happened? What is social media? So that's what I'm talking about. I can't even get through the I mean, some people actually follow me on social media, and they come in and like check me, and I'm like, what's going on here? So that's what I'm talking about. If you are a hairstylist and you can feel what I'm talking about, go ahead on and hit that heart button, because I know I'm not the only one.
Well, I mean, you know, it's. I'm not going to say that it is the consumer's issue. It is a cosmetology issue, and and once again, African Americans are not writing the cosmetology books from a place that is elevated. It's not expansive. It's not Afrocentric enough to create any real strong, prestige. There's not enough space between the cosmetologist and the consumer in terms of knowledge, wisdom, information, data, and research, and just the whole hierarchy. And so social media has made so much random, rogue, just unscientific stuff. And it's not, and you and I'm a cosmetologist, you're a cosmetologist, and we have to take our power back and raise the level of Afro cosmetology, because white, straight hair, the cosmetology that's there now is not going to do it. and they're not going to raise, they're not, because you have to remember, white cosmetology does not let the consumer in certain brackets. They are not, letting them in certain regards. They still have their pivot points and their Redkins and their schools and their Paul Mitchells and their Regis, and it's still corporatized. It's still corporate. And so there is a great divide. But with Black hair care, there is no great divide. And unfortunately, that leads into that. It's not the single most vital component, but it is the root of the issue.
Okay, now hold on, because I hear what you're saying. But we got a sister. What's up, Sophia? The first. I like what you put. She's dropping some interesting comments in the chat here. But I hear what you're saying, Cheryl. But I think Black people, we have a unique position compared to our brothers and sisters from the other mother, if you will, and that is Black people will pull the black card on us and pull the, well, I learned this at home and my grandmother taught me. And I'm not saying people, our brothers and sisters from our other mothers and fathers don't do hair at home. I'm not saying that. But for Black people, and this is Ladoshan. I'm not going to speak for everybody. I'm just going to speak for myself. And if you're in the chat, you're watching this post, the live, feel free to drop some comments in the chat, and I will share them with Cheryl, and she can answer some more. Because remember, I'm the ghetto one. She's a nice one, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, for real though, what do you have to say to people? Because they're going to say that to us, that, like, let's take an example, the natural hairstylist, okay? I don't know if you guys know this, but they've been winning case after case after case after case across the United States that they don't need any education. Their primary reason is because, number one, cosmetology schools wasn't teaching it, and number two, we learned this stuff at home. So how can we rise to the level of what you're talking about that our white brothers and sisters have in their professionalism that we don't have, if that is a big issue?
Okay. You kind of hit the button a little quicker, but I get the gist. Well, first of all, what we say and what we learn at home is not cosmetology. That's cultural hair practices. That's hygiene. That has nothing to do with cosmetology. That's number one. And number two, white consumers and straight hair consumers are not interested in, or they don't have a need to write or rewrite a cosmetology book and go to the legislation and to make corrections and to do things such as that nature, because there's nothing to it. They're cutting, coloring, and doing, they're not doing anything. And second, and thirdly, they just have salon services and innovation and trends and hairstyles and professional and wanting your hair done and wanting your makeup. Though that, and if you want the professional touch, see, that's different than your auntie always braiding everybody's hair in the neighborhood. So that is not quite the same. And I can understand the premise for African descending people going to the legislation and say, you don't regulate our cultural practices. We learn to do this. This is part of our culture. Okay. I get that, because of course, cosmetology has not included the Sikh religion and how they braid their beard and twirl it around. They don't approach them to say, oh, well, hey, this hair, we got to teach that in cosmetology. You're going to need a license to do that. They don't do that. We're the only ones that we want validation from white America. But then when they do, their acknowledgement comes in the form of money, license, acknowledgement, You want to be included in the book, you got to get included in the book. Well, if you want those things, you have to be part of that system. If you don't, then don't try to get recognized and talking about you want this and that and this and that, and you want to be recognized. So here we go again, but there's no leadership in Black cosmetology and Black hair care no more because it's too commercial. So there's no one to be able to think tank and bounce things off of. So you're kind of left to cosmetology. We just need to get on one page. And that's one of the things that you and I have spoken about, that Mr. Morrow just really wish that we had it. We just need a lot of infrastructure, put it that way.
All right, okay, we need some infrastructure. Now, it's funny you would say, talking about taking a page out of history, or, we got to get on the same page, if you will. Because I don't know if you guys saw the Essence, this is the Essence issue this month with Janet Jackson, Miss Jackson, if you're nasty on the front. And what's up, Vidal? I see you in the chat representing on LinkedIn, my old colleague here. And to your point about we need that leadership, and, here they are, and I think, I like Essence, but here is an example of what happens. So they've got some around the way girl images. Then they're, bringing some stuff back, these old school looks or whatever. And I think that we see a lot of this in the cosmetology books. Okay, so there's another one. Now I'm not hating because they're all hair weaves. Okay. All right, they are, okay. But here, just hear me out on this one now. So they will take those types of images, those practices, right? And before you know it, you see them in the cosmetology books. So now we see locks, first we saw quick weaves, then we saw sew-in weaves, then we saw cornrow braids, then we saw locks, now we're seeing faux locks. So I hear what you're saying, but it's kind of like the Milady's Book of Cosmetology. They're going through the Essence magazine, you know what I'm saying? And we used to talk about this in social work, and they pick the hot topic and they place it on the Times, New York Times magazine. Well, it appears that the Milady's Book of Cosmetology would take what we do, and Lavina put that up there, our cultural hair practices, and they will put, this is a short quick weave, and then that's an actual other weave, okay? And they will put those inside the cosmetology books, and now they will profess that these are the new, methods or modalities of cosmetology. But to your point, we don't have a leader. So how can we remember the nails that you would put the jewels on, and we used to call them junk nails, but white folks used to call them ghetto nails. But today they're called nail art. So how do we get out of this? So I hear you, but we do have this strange dichotomy taking place against us, such as those examples right there.
Well, once again, and I'm going to be very clear when I say this. Trend, let's just say, for instance, let me give you a good example so we'll just stay on point. When you look at a Vogue, and then you look inside of the Vogue magazine culture, they are a supporter of the fashion industry. They're not JCPenney's catalog. See, JCPenney's catalog is just look trends, and then the consumers pick them. Vogue is interested in the real intrinsic modalities of what the fashion industry is about, supporting their designers, making sure that they have support and resources, making sure that that Vogue supports the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and then we have the Met Ball, and then we have all the Fashion Fund. Then we have that went in to deal with fashion. The Fashion Fund then went in to deal with the Great Recession of Barack Obama's presidency in dealing with the recession. So they created the Fashion Fund, and then Vogue went to go in and create a common thread, which is to help fashion designers make it through COVID-19. You see what I'm saying? So this is the support and the ground roots and the inner levels of the entire, what makes up a complex in an industry, the industrial complex. Black hair care does not have enough infrastructure. They don't have a very strong association. Fashion has CFDA, okay, and then you have very strong media and Bibles that are leading in setting trends, but they're backed by the designer and the support. So when you're talking about, there is no body strong enough, the infrastructure is not there to have a body that will support the cosmetologist. You have Milady as a book publisher, not a study and research. They're book publishers. They gather a bunch of information and they just publish books. Okay. But then they go out and they could, because of the lack of infrastructure, they go over the association and the organization that would have been there. And they go straight to the hairstylist. The hairstylist needs money. And so, hey, you can be the flavor of the month. You know, we want to give you $2. Tell us what's going on. And then you got quick weave, and then you got blocks, and then you got this, and then you got tape, and then you got edge, and then this, and this. And it's only based on street appeal to the consumer. But you don't have anything that is based in real rooted, a system that supports and it's connected. It's like a branch of a tree. You don't have it. So that is what we have to read.
So are you saying, I'm just going to read Sophia's message right here. I hope you can see it on the screen. It says, if a black community is doing it, then it's tacky. A white person does it, white media brands it, and since they control the media, then it becomes a trend by them. So that's one side. You might call that quasi-cultural appropriation. But then on the other side of the example that you just gave, are you implying that we're selling out by giving them the direct pipeline? Or are they looking? I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, and I'm not saying, this is so difficult because I'm not saying that we should not highlight the quick weaves in main media, but, you know, it's hard, like she's saying. We hear your side of the story, but they will take this and put it in the book, and now they get to teach it to other African Americans. The person, I think, is Big Bad Willie D. You know, I believe this definitely came out of Detroit. And I hope some people in the chat, either in the live or post the live, will correct me. But the quick weaves, they came out of Detroit. The brothers, they got, I mean, are you feeling me? You feel the confusion? And thank you so much, Sophia, for helping me out.
Let me say this. First of all, we are 403 years in. If you want to count 15th century, that's 503 years. Okay? All right, 1516, people say 1619. Okay. It doesn't matter what they call you. It doesn't matter on the commercial. If you guys understand that Nielsen ratings, I think it's the 2016, go back and put in Google, put in Nielsen ratings, for us, by us, and then click the search button. Okay. Now, once you do that, okay, that their report is a PDF, and in the first paragraph, okay, the first paragraph, it says 47%. I mean, 70 is 67%. 67% of Latinos, and I think 70%, 73% of Asians and Europeans believe that Black people control and influence mainstream culture. So my point is that while we are talking about, and I know what we are saying about what it's called, we don't care what they call it, because what all they gonna do is put it on their nails. It don't make no difference. They gonna come. The issue for me is whatever they call it, there should be a Black hand with a Black cash register ready to sell it to them. I don't give a damn what it's called, because at the end of the day, if they want it, they're gonna buy it. Now, here's the key. When you see hairstyles like that, in essence, the question is not the appropriation, because I believe socialism, racist, and here we go again, we're all focused, right? Because we would not be talking about that if they was buying it from us, because we don't care what, if they was buying it from us. Now, my point is, by saying that, is that with the new infrastructure that we need to put together, we are asking ourselves the better questions, harder questions, fresher questions. We are going to see things differently, because at the end of the day, white people are not messing with your hair. You know that was a Black person who was on that photo shoot that got paid to do that crap. So you already know that they're not messing with you and messing with your hair. So, okay, so a Black person got paid to do that. Now, if you had 15,000 SKUs of white instant weave, and that magazine cover, centerfold, caused 15,000 people to pay you $50, I would say, oh yeah, that's sister, that's my boo. Yeah, she sold that. She got paid. We need to own our industry. I don't care what, we can deal with the socialism and the titles and all that later. You can't fix all that at once. But I do get the sister's point, and I do get your point. We just can't fix it at this point. We got to fix this economically and let it trickle and work on this, for a period of time.
Okay, all right. So we got our work to do. We have our work to do when we're talking about, sensationalism. We're talking about fake news. We're talking about junk research that's kind of birthing this kind of a sensationalism. And what we're starting to learn is that perhaps we're kind of focused on the wrong things. That's number one. Number two, we do have some things in place that we could use, that we could make these things significantly our very own. And of course, now this won't be happening overnight, but we definitely have to begin, that ripple effect, that one drop. And so she oh, here you go, here she goes, she coming back through me, just drop it on up here. So I was going there, she beat me to the punch. So where I was building up to, and we hear you, Cheryl, and I think, Sophia, you might have to join the coalition, because what Cheryl is saying, guys, we have to get this ball rolling, because we are rolling back, we are falling back, and we're not getting a part of that trillion, are we at gazillion dollars now? Industry.
5 trillion. 1.5 trillion.
So we're not really getting a part of that 1.5 trillion, because we're not doing the actual work that we could do as a collective, right? And so her statement is, well, what happens if you don't own the product line, right? She says, then we are, in fact, the product. So is she making a good point that if we don't own these product lines, then what happens is we become the product? And I feel you, because when I went to my very first hair show at the big New York, it's called the Jacob Javits or something like that. So I was at this place, the Jacob Javits Center, and one thing that I noticed, the same point that she's saying, is that dang, it seems like, we're treated in the same light as the consumer compared to them, and talk about that we don't own our own product. And I know you have the bona fides to do it because you did it. So I'm going to ask you to talk about that and the benefits of that. So again, thank you, Sophia. And don't forget, guys, if you're liking what you're watching, please take a few moments out to hit that thumbs up and share the content so we can, get this ball rolling here. So,
Well, let me just say this. In white cosmetology, everybody don't have, everybody ain't don't own nothing, and everyone in the black hair care does not have to own anything. Some want to just be a barber, some just want to be a cutter, they want to be a technician, and that's fine too. But I think that, you see, let me say this to you. Let me give you one good piece of sensationalism, and to tie this in. Black people are consumers. Okay? Black people are the largest consumers. Right? We've heard that, right? Now, we have to really critically look at that, because sensationalism is dangerous. Because black folks, now, they love to tell you that you're not enough in the population. Me and you then go and say, well, we're not enough black people here, and there's not enough black people here, and there's only 46 million black people in America. Now, let's just say this. Mathematically, black people cannot be the largest consumers. Black people cannot be the largest consumers, just in this country.
Hold up. What you talking about, Cheryl? Come on now. Come on.
The Chinese are the largest consumers. Then it's Indians are the largest consumers. I need you to understand that they are the two. India is the largest democracy on earth. They buy and they consume. But because we are so wrought, we cannot shift our conversation out of the racist paradigm to understand that the things that we say about each other must be accurate. Because if they're not accurate, then we will start saying things about each other that are not true. Now, let's say this. We will say things like, that's sensationalism. So then we will start saying it, and then another black person will say it, oh, we're just the largest consumers and we don't produce. We did do it in a period, in a chronological time period. We did do it in pockets. Now, if we're saying that we need to do it again, create our own labs and our own production and things of that nature, these things are not hard. But if you keep saying the sensationalism, then we're never going to get on the bite. We'll just be defeated, and we'll just say, oh yeah, because we need to, because you don't encourage anybody by telling them what they did wrong first. It's just not normal talk when we talk about in the social industry, and in social work. We don't talk about the defeatist attitude first, and then we build them up. We create accurate, sound, breaded pieces of information. You give the person, you talk to them in a way that allows them to create a path to doing so. Now, does everybody in white America, do they own everything? No, they don't. But what I'm saying, and I get your point, but what I also want, even in black hair care, when it was all funneled into black hands and black families, there was still only about 7 families. So that means everybody wasn't doing it. So, and 7 families lifted a whole nation. Had our own beauty supply. Kind of watch our language. And I think that is what sensationalism and talk does. And maybe it's a tall order, because one of the things that I will always say, when it comes to economics, we need think tanks so we can get our conversation together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay. I'm following you. I'm rocking with you. So we got some more people coming through the chat. We got our brother Kofi pass out. What's up, Kofi? Welcome to some of the dumbest hit that people say about black hair. We appreciate you for joining us. We also got my homeboy, Mr. Rodney. That's my old college. He was my field instructor when I was in college. I hope you're proud of me, Rodney. Okay, so Rodney, but you traded on Cleveland for beautiful sunny Arizona. And so again, we are talking about sensationalism, junk research, and of course the fake news. And now what we're coming to find out, it's the rhetoric of sensationalism that we are regurgitating that is really hurting us because it's playing with our psyche, it's keeping us boxed in and blocked in where we're not seeing the bigger, and I'm going to use this word, global picture. It's a lot bigger than what we think it is, and we could do a whole lot more. And like she said, we could have some of these think tanks. We could definitely, explore some other ideals and reaching out to bigger markets. But first and foremost, we got to do something that you see right here. There's some our little documentary is coming up, and it's called we need to change the narrative, okay? And so the narrative is definitely going to take place first and foremost, guys, in education. And so we know that education is that big E word. Like, can we just hustle hard? Why can't we hustle our way through this? Because I know what people are saying. I ain't got time to go to school, Cheryl. I ain't got time, LaDosha, to get into your coalition that help change the narrative. Cheryl, talk to us about sensationalism, right? And we know we got to get over it, but how come we just can't hustle hard and work our way out of this box?
Well, I would always say, I have a saying, that heirs don't hustle. Hustling is a method. Let me ask you a question. What is the greatest hustle? Colonialism? Colonialism was a hustle. They said, we ain't got nothing. We ain't got shit. So let us get on some boats. We don't know what's behind that meridian, because they said it was flat. Okay? They hustled you out of your stuff. Okay? Now, my point is that if you think hustle alone, and if you keep starting over, heirs continue. Hustlers got to think of a scheme, got to think of some game, got to think of a hustle. They got to think of something, and then boom, and hope that you buy their bullshit. Hope, just hope, and then give them your money. Now, my point is, well, what do you think is important to your competition? Right now, they are trying to fix your mind and to let you know that involuntary relocation, because they understand that if you keep saying slavery to white children, something's going to go on psychologically. Okay? That is important. It's not about the hustle. It's about what is in your mind when you go to that job. What is on your mind? Are you encouraged? Are you balanced? Are you have self-worth? Do you have self-esteem? Do you have self-value? And they are worried about what their young people are hearing. You worrying about what what people are saying. It's not important.
All right, you hear that? So now, I see you, Sophia the First. We got to mail you this T-shirt, so make sure you email me at LaDosha W. that, yes, Sophia, you are on the over end, the E, not from 1987, but from 1983. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to mail you off this T-shirt, and it says, affectionately help change the narrative, because you dropped something in the chat that's off the Richter scale, and you are 100% correct. Hustle culture is not a plan. And I was listening to Dr. Ma'at, which, by the way, if you guys could go over to her channel, that's Dr. Oya, O-Y-A, Ma'at, M-A-A-T. When I tell you, this sister has got the master plan with all of the right people in the right seat on the right buses to help us do exactly what Cheryl Morrow is encouraging us all to do, which is to work from our rightful place in history and in our positions right now as heirs, and not hustling like Sophia is saying with the culture that does not have a plan. So on her platform, she's talking about doing the same things that Cheryl is talking about. The only difference is that she's got some key connectors, some key people that we can reach out to, that we can get some language from, to do some wonderful things that we can impart right here in the beauty industry, such as what Cheryl is talking about, which is staying true to, first and foremost, number one, that's education. Number two, that's definitely going to boil down to training. And then number three, we're going to have to broaden that spectrum, to include other people. And then we could trickle it out into our service and how we're going to be able to service people and just do some wonderful things, with those two things. Okay, we got to have the education, we got to have the training, and that goes back into our business mind, our innovative minds, our inventors' minds. We do have this wonderful space to work from. So you can go to that channel. You can stay here with Cheryl and I, because we're not going to allow algorithms and a million likes to defer or deter our plan. We definitely have something for you guys to become a part of, so that you will not have to hustle. But education is going to start first. So Cheryl, just can you share with us a little bit about I know it's so your family's business is too large to give us what I might call a glimpse, but if you could just give us a glimpse into what does it take to have the heart to not hustle and go into your mind and do it anyway, because there are some people who are watching who are maybe at the precipice, they just right there, and they just like, what do I do? So help us in real terms for those who are watching. Maybe you're afraid to type in the chat, maybe you're just watching. How does that opening of that door to begin with the knowledge that you have to do what your father, the legendary Dr. Willie Morrow, did? Because people are going to ask, well, how do we get started, Cheryl? How do we not do the hustle culture and use that as a plan?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I don't know if you guys are aware, and let me give you just a little brief introduction and how important this is in this conversation in particular. We all know that Rihanna started as a hustling, traveling, video, trying to be everywhere performer, right? That's how she made her money. Most of it, maybe a couple of cents on the dollar with a song. And then she went and actually toured, where she made most of her money, right? And we all know that is not sustainable after a while. Okay, we all know that Beyonce gonna get tired after a while, and it's gonna be a means to an end. My point in saying that is that when Rihanna shifted to beauty, that equated to billion. Why would her performing and working hard and singing and dancing, why wouldn't that equate to $1 billion? Okay, because we have to understand, doing less, you make more in a universal sense. Okay, when you become in charge, like Miss Sophia said, When you begin to be influential and you have a brand and you have a product that moves through markets more than your own 2 feet can move you, okay, you become a billionaire. The problem is that that brand was incubated in a white incubator. So she gave her Black inheritance, her Black essence, her Blackness, her Black spirit to an incubator funded by Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy. Okay. But I also understand that the 2 founders of that incubator were 2 executives at Sephora. So now you see how that was initially successful. But it was, and she owns most of it too, by the way, and I'll give her her props. The point is that Blackness, we're duplicatable. There is a formula that our ancestors left us. It's a formula. The door-to-door, Lily Rubinstein and Mary Kay and Estee Lauder and Max Factor and Revlon and all of those are Annie Malone. It came out of segregation, those sales mechanisms and sales tactics. And then if we are not careful, then what we have inherited, we begin to pillage and think that, because what we'll do is doing so long with nothing that we will think it's impossible to do something with nothing, and that we can't keep doing that. So in other words, that there will be, I am going to concentrate after we deal with the legacy of Mr. Morrow. We are going to go immediate into business. One will be a collab incubator in San Diego, California, for you guys to come to in 2023. Then we will put you around a group of business sources so you can have not just a mentor, you need a partner. And sometimes you may need, their resources and their investment. So we learn more intrapreneurial. We don't really do entrepreneurial. Okay. So most of us will not be entrepreneurial. We will be intrapreneurial. And so
okay, hold up. You got to break down intrapreneur, because it's lighting up again. So break that down.
Okay. An entrepreneur, and I always take most of my clients through a series of what is your style? Because I will tell you, I had to learn and be developed as a chief executive officer. I had to be groomed to do that. I did not have a natural affinity for that. I am much more of a visionary, okay, or a founder. And so for me to function like in C-suite, I don't naturally do that. In other words, that people will usually have better skills as number 2 and number 3s, which means that they're intrapreneurial. They can come into a structure and see what's already there and then improve on it and say, if I improve on this, can I have 12% of the overall revenue quarterly profits? And then you'll say, hey, it's been sitting there. I haven't done anything with it. Go ahead. And that's how I have personally enriched myself in my mother and father's family structure business, because what he's done, and he didn't have the energy to maintain, and he kicked it off to the side. And I said, hey, Dad, if I take this and I do this to it, that is intra. You're an intrapreneur. So therefore, you have all of the trappings and the support and the safety net of other people's resources, and then you can build and then create and then impart and pour in the revenue to the mother company. An entrepreneur is a little different. You take risks, you have no resources, a little bit of hustle in there, and you're starting from over, and then you make things, and then once you sell it, and then you move on. Most are not going to function in that regard. Did I explain that clearly?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We got that. Now I'm gonna speak from personal experience. So I'm gonna be like, remember, anybody used to watch In Living Color, and Tommy Davidson had this character. His name was Reverend Louis Leon Love III. And so Reverend Lewis Leon Love III, when something was good was about to happen, he would always hunch down and go, "I got a feeling everything's gonna be all right." You know what I'm saying? So in the spirit of Reverend Lewis and Leon Love III. Thank you, Tommy Davidson, for that character, and the Wayans brothers for that beautiful show. But as you can see right here today, we got a feeling that everything is going to be all right, because from someone who knows the mind, but she's not saying all African Americans think this way, but this is an option, because I'm going to speak personally. I opened a hair salon with zero experience. Actually, to be honest, Cheryl, I'd never even been to a hair salon. And the 2 times that I did go, they put me out because I didn't have a relaxer. They didn't even know what to do with my hair. And so I opened this salon, to your point, that entrepreneur spirit. Someone came in to what I had. His name was Dr. Spritz, and he didn't have his own salon. And my son, who was gay, and Spritz is gay, so and I was anti-gay, by the way. I was like, I ain't want no faggots in my son. My son was like, well, Mom, you gonna have some, okay? And so I didn't know what I was. I said, no, I'm telling you right now, ain't no gay people coming up in here teaching me. He said, well, you don't know what you're doing, and only them gay people gonna help you out. And so I was like, oh man. So I put down my ignorance and my stupidity and all of my, my isms, and I let the guy in. I have to say that he's gay for this reason only. To your point of entrepreneur, is because there was nowhere that he could go and pour his brilliance into what he felt the Cleveland beauty industry needed, by way of a place that was safe to come and learn and earn and go. And so that concept of what you're talking about of entrepreneur, I was able to be, with my business, the incubator for another hairstylist to pour his ideal into an existing business that probably would have failed. I'm going to be honest, it would have failed. And he told me, this is what's missing. And so from there, we were able to flourish and use the build, grow, and go model for African American hairstylists. And we have to point out for the LGBTQ community, because they were not really they were being used, if you will, for like hair shows and stuff, but they really wanted to be more than just creatives. They wanted to show that they could be entrepreneurs. So I can testify personally to your concept of what you're going to be introducing and offering other licensed professionals to come into 2023 as we wrap this up, the beauty of entrepreneur. And I find it, people was like, you crazy, you're just crazy. And my mother was like, well, gay people need some place to go, and you got a gay son, so you might and I was like, okay, here we go, open it up for all the gay. And so I learned a lot from myself, that I was just not being in the end, I was a good mom. But in the beginning, that ignorance, like you were saying, that we have to push that stuff aside, because it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that I had a business that was going to sink if I did not let that person in to pour into your concept of what you're calling entrepreneur. And me, and only because he was gay, okay, I was just like, no faggots, I ain't doing it. So I don't think like that anymore. I don't talk like that anymore. And so thank you to Dr. Spritz, and thank you again for sharing with us the entrepreneur. And that's an option. We're not saying you can't do the entrepreneur thing, but with her model and what she's going to be offering to us, which I'm going to be taking a part of it as well, we appreciate you. So as we wrap this down, can you close us out with some wonderful inspiration about how we can use that sensationalism maybe to our advantage?
Absolutely. Mr. Morrow exploited racism because, there is a saying in economics, there is riches in niches. And so you can easily exploit your surroundings, your environment, your community, your city. What they are not doing will always be in the minority. It will always, that there is, when you're doing big business, or you're whatever city that you're known, that city is known for, you can just you just find what they're not doing. And usually an entrepreneur will have better experience at doing something that you're entrepreneurial doing. So you think that you're shifting. So if you can partner and do a collaboration with someone and be able to impart their, so entrepreneurs are not above or below entrepreneurs. They're just different functions according to people who usually have a little older, they're more experienced. They're probably at the entrepreneurial because they really don't want the responsibility of what entrepreneurs have. But the entrepreneur doesn't have time to take care of the details that entrepreneurs have already done and accomplished, and they do it so easy and effortless, and you're spitting around there and you're struggling because you got to think about bills and permits and inventory and all these other things, and the entrepreneurs are right there, and they're saying, okay, girlfriend, okay, look, maybe you doing the colors and all this, maybe if I would just focus on consultations, and we can just do a workshop every Monday. There's always a way to share, crowd share, and then it always equates to money, and that is what we need. We need resources, relationships, and money. And I started my entrepreneur world by being an entrepreneur and of Mr. Morrow. He had done so much that he wasn't doing, and I just said, hey, this is about $10,000 a month. Let me do this. You already do it. He's over to the side. He's no longer doing it. So entrepreneurs teaches you different skill sets, and it's going to be a good world. We're going to do media, biotech, fintech. We're going to be bringing everything into this particular collab and incubator. And one of the things that I wanted to say before we end, there's nothing better than being taught by a Black educator that can teach you, not just in terms of their appearance, but Black people teaching and educating and collabing gives you, they understand, they innately and culturally understand your ethos and your pathology. So it's very important to take that into consideration.
That's just so profound. And I want you guys to use me as an example. My son, who's dearly departed, he's no longer with us, but he taught me a valuable lesson, which is what Cheryl has taught us tonight. And he would tell me all the time, Mom, you're focused on the wrong things. I was focused on just stop being gay. Just try a little vagina, just once, He's like, Mom, come on, Mom. And you got a business to run. You just focus on the wrong thing. I just can't do it. I just can't have a salon full of gay. Focused on the wrong things. We're not in love, guys. We're in business. And so sometimes we have to do things very unconventionally. But unconventionally is actually very conventionally if you're that conservative. And so I'm not saying you got to open up your business and let gay people come in and change it and save your life. It worked for me. Maybe it'll work for you. I'm just saying. But do what you think is best and understand that Cheryl and I, we are here for you. Our services are definitely going to be available. Now I'm saying because I'm about to jump on the bed. I'm jumping ship. And I'm going to be over into Afro cosmetology. So again, use the lesson from LaDosha. Replay this and say, did she just say that? Yeah, I did. I was that ignorant and I was focused on the wrong thing. And so sometimes we do that as entrepreneurs, but that's the beauty, because Cheryl just pointed out you get to grow from that space. So I was stupid enough, bold enough, dumb enough to just be focused on him being gay when that wasn't the issue. You got a business, Mom, and you need this person to help you out. Who cares if he's gay or not? And in fact, Dr. Spritz did help me out. And I've been in business, not without incident, for 23 years. And I'm proud to say that I'm so glad that I had what she's calling an entrepreneur spirit. So we are going to wrap this up, and I've learned my lesson. We can all learn, okay? We can all learn. And we hope you guys will join us every Monday. As you can see, we don't care what about the holiday. We just here because we love y'all. We love hair. We love people as much as we love hair. And your thoughts and anything that you want us to talk about, you're more than welcome to drop them into the chat. You can email me or Cheryl. She's on Facebook as well. But get ready for 2023, and we are going to wrap this up. Thank you, LinkedIn. Thank you, Facebook. Thank you, YouTube. Sophia, what can we say? But thank you so much. I see my BFF Kevin Hurd has come through. I hope you're ready for that interview, because we got the pseudo killers coming through. The narrative, guys, we're still working out these interviews. It's going down, believe it or not. Now it's going to happen, all right? And so you know what I say when I'm always signing out, right? Come back here on Monday at 6 o'clock. Share the content, and don't forget, you know what I say when I'm always signing out, right, Cheryl? We always talking about a whole lot of peace, a whole lot of love, and most certainly a whole lot of hair. But check this out: if you ain't got no hair, don't want no hair, can't stand hair, can't grow no hair, hell, you gonna cut off in 2022, you got some bald spots, sure enough, say, don't even worry about it, because bald heads are beautiful too, and so are you. Deuces. Don't forget, the word of the day is intrapreneur. Bye.